One of the biggest reasons today's modern marriages are struggling, not only in the bedroom, but in all other areas as well, is because women are trying to have it all. I mean, that's what we've been told as women, right? Like, we can do everything a man can do, and we can have the husband and the kids and the career, the social life, and to a point that's true. But what I believe a more accurate statement is that you can have it all, but you just can't have it all at once. You see, time is finite. As the old saying goes, there's only so many hours in a day. So when a woman goes out and attempts to balance all of these spinning plates, it creates a hyper stressed out, high cortisol, hyper-masculinized woman, and she has nothing left to give of herself mentally or physically. What happens is that every time she adds more and more onto her plate, it increases her mental load. And when I speak about mental load, I'm referring to that constant mental juggling of responsibilities, tasks, and micro tasks associated with adulting. Like, imagine that your wife's brain is like a computer screen, and there's all kinds of open tabs where each tab is a folder for each aspect of her life. Now, when she was single, there was far less open tabs, and now she has one for you and for work and for each child and all her other personal relationships and for social activities and for her interests. A woman's brain is like a complex web of open tabs that are running simultaneously all the time. And the thing is, these tabs, they never really truly close. The best a woman can do is to temporarily minimize the screen or perhaps rearrange the order of the open tabs. But for men, there seems to be only really 2 tabs open at any given time. And one of those is what he's working on, and the other one is sex. So once again, us men and women are just built really differently. So with each new obligation comes new open tabs. And the more open tabs a woman has, the more stressed out she's going to be. So let's go ahead and talk about the biggest sources of mental load that a woman experiences today. The first one is work. Now, when it comes to marriages, the 1950s was kind of glamorized as being like an ideal. The divorce rate was low, the roles were clear cut. And I think the biggest part of this is that the majority of women did not work outside of the home. But thanks to feminism, that is no longer the case. Women are now taught that it is dangerous for a woman to not only have her own money, but that they should not rely upon a man at all. And I have to say, I don't blame them. Being financially dependent upon another person is pretty scary for a gender that places safety as a core need. So financial safety is a very real concern for women. But there are other financial concerns that she may have as well, like not wanting another person to dictate or having to justify or having another person approve what she's buying. A woman may also choose to work because it provides a sense of personal fulfillment. And she's proud that she's financially able to contribute towards the household and the bills. But the biggest reason that women want to work has more to do with the feeling of independence, the ability to leave if shit ever hits the fan. So a woman working in and of itself isn't really a big problem until kids come along. While there are benefits to working when children enter the picture, there are also quite a few downfalls that are almost always unavoidable. So what are these potential downfalls? Well, a working mother shifts a wife's priority from home to work. She will sometimes prioritize her work, placing it above her family, often missing important milestones like first words or first steps or other important school events because her boss won't let her have the time off work, or she can't take the financial hit from taking the time off. Her work may involve travel or mandatory overtime. A working mother creates a family life that revolves around her work versus work revolving around her life. A working mother also creates financial division where she will view her money as her money and the husband's money as our money. This mental division of finances keeps a married woman in a single woman mindset where family goals are on the back burner and individual goals are prioritized. A working mother may prematurely give her an incentive to leave because not only will she have her money that she earns, but she can also leave and also get a portion of yours, making a woman less likely to stay and work through problems. Instead, she's going to be eligible for half of your money and part of your retirement, and then this doesn't even factor into child support. A working mother also creates greater domestic duty obligations for the husband. She will come in with the expectation that her husband needs to be contributing equitably. Not equally, but equitably in the domestic duties. And if her husband doesn't do that, she's going to notice and she's going to get resentful when her husband doesn't live up to her expectations when it comes to his fair share. A working mother also opens up her susceptibility to having an affair. Did you know that 85% of affairs start in the workplace? And 60% of emotional affairs begin with a coworker, and you're working close together in close proximity to each other, and you're striving towards a goal. That attraction it happens. And this can happen even if there's no problems at home, because there are females that do get bored easily, and she may start getting additional attention from the men at work. And with attention being a woman's primary currency, this can sometimes just be all too alluring to resist. But the biggest factor when it comes to a working mother is the sheer amount of time that she spends at work, which means that all those ongoing household tasks like the shopping, the errands, the laundry, the doctor's visits, the cleaning, just to name a few, all of those must now be done in the evenings and on the weekends. And so now instead of the evening and weekends being time where you can enjoy your family and relax, instead they become small windows of time in which everyone runs around frantic and trying to catch up on all your to-dos. And this is going to leave not only the woman, but it's going to leave the entire family frazzled and stressed out and like she's drowning, because she is. And none of this even takes into account that she's going to be left with even less time to foster and nurture herself as an individual, to do those things that she needs to do to take care of herself, like exercising or hanging out with her friends or just simply being, without constantly being needed by somebody. And women truly believe, because they don't see a man's mental load, or because men don't talk about it, that you guys just don't have as much as she does. But everyone experiences mental load. It's just that guys don't get hung up if they don't complete a task. They just simply think, well, I'll get to it when I get to it. But the idea of not wanting sex because the dishes aren't done would just never run into the mind of a man. So for marriages where younger children are not involved, the mental load is probably not going to be an issue. These open tabs that she has for herself and for her husband are usually quite manageable. But a working mother is almost always going to be living in a state of perpetual stress and high cortisol. This is going to make it quite difficult for her to be soft and feminine, or even remotely feel the need to prioritize sex. So when you hear your wife say something like, I don't have time, or I'm too tired, or if you just helped me more around the house, she's not saying that as an excuse. What she's trying to convey to you there is her sheer exhaustion from her just trying to simply survive in life due to her constant state of high stress and high cortisol and trying to balance so many open tabs. Another source of mental load, and we've already just alluded to it a bit, is motherhood. Raising children is a full-time job, both time and energy-wise. And with each kid comes more open tabs. And this isn't some short-term, like 1 or 2 year season, but one that a woman may spend nearly 2 decades in. But here's the deal. Motherhood is absolutely awful for your sex life. Like, don't get me wrong. Being a mother is awesome. Like, I have 4 kids myself. I wouldn't trade it for the world. But it is going to take a toll on your sex life. Well, let's talk about why this happens. When a woman first becomes a mother, what she doesn't know is that mom mode is about to be activated. What mom mode means is that when children are physically around, she always has at least a portion of herself that is tuned into them. So for a woman, when her kids are around, there is really no true relaxing. My husband and I, we are big cruisers. It's our vacation of choice. And so normally we go once a year without the kids to have that time to ourselves, to nurture our relationship. And this year, I have my big 5-0 coming up in just a couple months. So I'm like, okay, we got to do something really awesome for my birthday. And I thought, we'll just invite everyone. We'll take the kids. I'll invite all my family and friends, and whoever can make it can make it. But then I started thinking about it. And while family vacations are great, there's just a whole lot of stress that comes along with it as well. There's more packing. There's constant fighting. They want you to buy all kinds of goodies and souvenirs. And, it's just a whole different vibe, right? So solo vacations and family vacations are both fun, but are they both relaxing? And the answer to that is no. So I realized, I'm not going to be able to bring the twins because I know myself. I know that I'm not going to be able to deactivate mom mode. And if I really want to relax and enjoy this monumental birthday, I just can't bring them. But don't feel bad for them because they always get a pretty epic family vacation every year anyway. So especially when the kids are younger, mom mode is never truly fully ever deactivated or turned off. And this is why she will say, but the kids are awake or they're going to hear us. It's because when her children are awake, a woman can never fully tune her kids out. There's always going to be a portion of her body that is honed in. It's biologically locked in. Biologically, we're just hardwired receivers for our kids. Even our ears pick up on these small, high-pitched frequency sounds of a baby crying. So even if they're at the age where you can just lock the door and they can entertain themselves for a bit, there's always going to be a part of her that is listening. But too often men will just simply tell their wives, well, just ignore them. But you're asking her to do something that she is not wired to do. It wasn't that long ago that my husband and I had locked the door. We were doing our thing. And they comes and knocked on the door. And we're like, what do you want? And they slid the remote control underneath the door because we have it set that you have to enter a PIN code to watch TV. So they're like, I need the PIN. So we entered in the PIN code, slid the remote back under the door. And I was just like, well, it's over for me. Just finished, because I just knew mentally I'm not going to be able to get back into it. So yeah, mom mode is real. So for most of us women, we're usually good to go once the kids are asleep. But midday rendezvous are quite tough for women sometimes because of this, where she can't mentally relax and be present. And mom mode also doesn't take into account the hormonal craziness that happens in things like postpartum depression or the hormonal suppression of the libido that is caused from breastfeeding, or the bodily destruction that happens from giving birth itself. The birthing process is brutally destructive on a woman's body, sometimes leaving her with ongoing pelvic issues that can cause sex to just become too painful. So while motherhood is wonderful, I just can't think of any scenario where having children is a net positive for a woman's sex drive. She may mentally understand that her husband still wants her and needs her. She also, at the same time, believes that her children need her more. So he, just being an adult, needs to accept his new place in the family dynamic. She may even have the kids sleeping in the bed for years, impeding sexual opportunities that would have naturally, organically happened had the kids not been there. And as a side note, guys, like if you care about your sex life at all, don't let kids in your bed. That's just going to create unnecessary barriers that don't need to be there. And while most people understand and are aware that when kids hit the scene, that sexual aspect may be dampened for a bit, for some women, like it just dies altogether and it never returns because she gets so caught up in this new identity as a mother that she forgets who she is as an individual person and also as a wife. It's like she takes her wife outfit off and then she puts on the mother outfit and she decides that she is the outfit. So for some women, they just really lean into this role of mother or even grandmother, and they just forget who they are and what is supposed to be their primary relationship, which is with their husband and their marriage. And he simply is kind of just like there as an accessory on her new outfit. In addition to mom mode and assuming a new identity, most women also mistakenly believe that being a good wife and being a good mother are the same thing. That the household tasks that she does and the care of the children translates into being a good wife. But that is not true. This is very similar to when a man believes that merely going to work is all that is required to be a good husband. So it could be that when your wife becomes a mother, she's just lost her identity as an individual and as a wife and as a sexual creature. Another factor that plays heavily into a woman's mental load is social media and societal expectations. Almost all of women's mental load is self-induced. Let me repeat that. Almost all of women's mental load is self-induced. But much of that is amplified by social pressures perpetuated primarily by the content a woman consumes, specifically through social media. As women, we all want to be perceived as special. And if we can't be perceived as special, we at least don't want to be considered abnormal. And what happens when a woman scrolls through social media, what does she see? Well, it appears that everyone is living their best life. And this leads a woman to think like, how is it that husband is taking her on all kinds of great vacations? How come that husband makes enough money to afford that nice house, but mine doesn't? How come she gets all these great date nights and her husband brings her flowers and mine doesn't? Why does she look so pretty and put together? Why I have no time and I'm constantly looking like a dumpster fire? Women will look at social media and see everyone else's highlight reel, and she will subconsciously believe that to be the norm. And when she sees her own life and that it doesn't come close to what she sees online, she's going to come to a false conclusion that she somehow got stuck with her husband who can't even provide her with what she considers to be a normal life. This false idea of what is normal leads to these greater expectations and therefore greater disappointment that breeds resentment. That everyone else is living this glamorous life and she's not. And this is also why she doesn't view anything she asks for her husband as like anything above and beyond. It's simply average. It's what all relationships have, except for her. At least that's what she'll think. because that's what she sees every day on these perfectly curated highlight reels, which has completely warped her sense of reality. I actually suffer from the reverse of this. I always think that we're doing better than other people. Like my husband and I, we like to talk about our finances a lot. And sometimes I'll remind him that statistically, we're doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good financially. And he'll say, no, I just don't think so. Well, this last week, I got a chance to hit up a part of town that I've never been to before. It was way over across town, about 45 minutes away. And it was in Henderson. And I was going to the Dragon Ridge Country Club. I pull up to the guard gate and I hand over my license and they give it back to me and I'm let in. And I go up to the clubhouse. And as soon as I entered, and I don't know if you've ever been to those fancy hotels where they have that scent that they pump into the air. And it's kind of like the scent of luxury, much like the new car scent, but for buildings. So there's a nice restaurant, there's this fancy bar, and the building is just almost entirely windows so that you could see the views of the greens and the amazing homes in that community. So these homes are like 5, 10, 15, $20 million homes. And as I sat down, I realized, okay, there's a whole nother level out there that I haven't even really considered before. So I thought, okay, Michael's right. We aren't doing that great. So this comparison game just adds like this whole next level pressure. And this not only skews her perception of how her husband should show up, but it also skews her perception like of how beautiful she is, what kind of mother she believes she has to be. And it's just going to create a whole bunch of expectations that no human can ever possibly live up to. But she will try and she will fail miserably because unlike the story that feminism has told you, you can't have it all. Well, you can, but just not all at once. And is it just me? Like, has social media gotten just so absolutely damn ridiculous with everything? Let me give you an example. Okay, let's say a woman gets pregnant. What used to happen? Well, what would happen is you would have punch, cake, and games. Like, that was it. Now a woman gets pregnant. There's the announcement. Then you have the big gender reveal. Have you seen some of these big ones? Like, they're just so over the top now. You can find out by popping balloons or cutting into a cake. I've even seen it from, an airplane going overhead with a banner or dropping down the different color with blue or pink of whatever gender is coming. People have spent thousands of dollars simply to announce if their baby's going to be a boy or a girl. After that, you have the actual baby shower. Now, and these aren't just like cake and punch anymore. These are full catered, we're talking like $1,000 minimum type of parties. And it doesn't stop there. Oh no, it doesn't stop there. No, now we have these pregnancy pictures where you have to forever capture like a woman with all her pregnancy glory. This is all just too much. It's next level stupid. And don't even get me going on kids' birthday parties nowadays. Everything has just gotten out of control. And it's one of the major reasons why a woman believes that she has to work is because it appears that everyone is doing it and everyone seems to have it all figured out. They all seem to be taking care of their kids and their husband just fine. So she will burn the candle on both ends, trying to live up to what she perceives to be normal, when in fact, all the other women are just drowning too. But everyone puts on the fancy show and posts just the best of the best. And it's just all a lie. Everyone else is just stressed out and drowning too. So the mental and physical toll of working while being a mother, combined with these societal pressures, are going to make sex the last thing on a woman's mind. With no biological urgency, no hard deadline, and with kids who are dependent upon her, it is not surprising that sex becomes deprioritized, except for a few days a month during ovulation. So what do you think? Is this the reason why your wife isn't interested in having sex with you? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you made it this far, you might as well like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. And as a final note, if you haven't already done so, check out my free community where we take these ideas and discussions that we start right here and we continue them off into a different platform. Some people just aren't comfortable talking about their sex life in the comments. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.